Yo, what up,
What's
guys?
up? What's up, gang? How we doing?
What's up,
How we
dudes?
doing?
Hey, man. Yeah, we here. We here. We living. We
Yeah,
living.
we bolted up. We bolted up.
Bolted up,
Hey,
baby.
Bolt
Let's
Bros.
go. Bolt Bros. Hit it up, dude. We got it.
I
We got
like
that
this shirt.
actually.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
shirt. Good solid shirt.
People were pretty hyped about it at Thunder Alley and everything too. They seemed like they enjoyed it and everything too. We actually have that in our Zazzle shop if you guys want to get a Bolt Bros t-shirt. We always talk constantly. I swear every single time we get on here, we always say, "Oh, we should make a shirt out of this. We should make a shirt out of that." We're always trying to add more merch in there, so we'll be putting more merch in there. But if you guys want to be a part of the Bolt Bros and support us, guys, we appreciate that. Check out our Zazzle shop, which is in our channel link and everything too. So take a look at it, my guys, But yeah, man. Raider week, family, trust, respect, all week.
Raider week. We hate the
Raider,
Raiders.
yeah.
We hate the Raiders. I mean, that's
We'll
just
pass on the
it,
Raiders.
right? We just hate them, right? So
Yep.
it is. They hate us too, but great. They can hate us all we want. But
Hey,
I'll tell you what, guys. Like it's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be a close game.
yeah, and we'll have a whole video that we'll chat about that pregame. I'm not sure if it'll be today or excuse me tomorrow or it'll be Sunday that we'll do it. We'll kind of decide that here shortly. We keep things pretty loose around here, baby. We keep things loose. We don't need to be on a schedule. We keep things
I know.
loose.
We keep things loose. But today's topic is Sean Payton, boys.
Yep.
Sean Payton.
It,
And
yep.
like there's a lot to discuss here. There's a lot to discuss here. And I know a lot of people are going to keep rolling in. And I know Aether, you're here. You got questions. I know guys. I think so. Maybe what we should say here at this point too, right? Like, bottom line, everyone keeps talking about Sean Payton this, Sean Payton that, and look, I've had my frustrations with our coaching staff, and it's not really with Brandon Staley so much. It's more with the offensive play calling that we've been doing.
Yeah.
Really more Joe Lombardi than Brandon Staley, right? I really like Brandon Staley. He's been fantastic. In fact, I would even argue even these past few weeks, he's looking better and better to me as a head coach. But Joe Lombardi has been pretty frustrating for me. So we want to talk about Sean Payton and what that means moving forward if we were to move on from Brandon Staley, right? Which I don't think that's going to happen. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about that conversation.
And there's a lot of notes that we have basically on Sean Payton, kind of the idea of it. No,
yeah.
And once again, the whole thing about this conversation is not, hey, we want to get rid of Brandon Staley. It's, hey, no, people are talking about it. And when I was even at the tailgate for the Cardinals Chargers game last weekend, and even to say the weekend before that against the Chiefs in SoFi, I swear it was like about a 50-50 of people saying, well, what do you think about Sean Payton? What do you think about Brandon Staley? Some people are saying, hey, I want Sean Payton. Some people say, no, I want Brandon Staley. I'm on the Brandon Staley wagon on this one. And I think Brandon Staley is only getting better. I think personally he's getting better as a head coach.
Yeah, he really is.
To be honest, we're at 6-5 with a banged up team and we're right in the thick of it, guys. I mean, what more do you want from a coach? Get it. I understand. We want blowout wins. I get it. I understand we could have had more wins. I get it. But no team basically wins every game outside of the 72 Dolphins, basically.
And
different 100%.
In the NFL, winning is hard. It's not easy. It's not easy.
Big difference. Yeah. Really, really tough all around. So we'll jump into that. I did want to just kind of make a quick announcement. Thunder Alley, Bolt Bride, 805. They're basically doing a toy drive out at Camarillo. So it's going to be the 805 guys out there. It's going to be out 4994 Vertigo Way. Is it Vertigo? Verdugo? Verdugo Way in Camarillo, California. You go there, watch the game. They're doing a toy drive and everything too. So guys, if you're in the Camarillo, Santa Barbara, all that kind of area and the 805 area, if you want to go watch the game with a bunch of homies and everything and do a toy drive, that would be awesome and very much appreciated. So check it out.
Kids like toys, guys. Kids like toys. I know I know.
It's for
I know. I was
kids.
a kid. Kids like for kids.
It's
I know
for the
kids like,
kids.
and yeah, I tell you what, yeah, got to get
So
back. Got to get back to the community. It's
gotta get
important.
back. What up, Richie? Good to see you, brother. Good to see y'all coming in here. So you guys are kind of piling in here,
Yep.
but guys, let's you want to dig into it? We can start digging into it here. So Sean Payton, um, man, we got a lot of history with this guy. And there's a lot of people I've chatted about, like I said earlier, that said, "Hey, I want Sean Payton." Some people don't want Sean Payton. And we got a bunch of talking points here that we could chat about this and everything in a lot of different ways. You know, I'm still for team Brandon Staley. Let's go Brandon Staley, baby. I
Let's go,
should have
Brandon
worn that
Staley.
shirt. For some reason, I did not.
I know.
But
I don't know why you didn't do that, bro.
yeah, I'm blowing it. I'm blowing it. This is a perfect time to wear that shirt, by the way. Let's go Brandon Staley.
Let's go,
But
Brandon Staley.
the one thing about it is Sean Payton, he's had kind of an interesting,
Yeah, career.
last almost 12 years of his coaching, I think of his 15 years of coaching as a head coach. Is it correct? I believe he
I
was
believe
from
so. Yeah.
2006 to 2021 as a head coach for the Saints. He had a 152, 89, and 0 record, playoff record of 9-8 with one Super Bowl win in 2009. That's pretty killer. That looks good on paper, right? We by the way, guys, we're fully live right now too. So if you guys have
100%
questions,
live.
comments, everything like that,
Throw
please
'em
let
down
us
there.
know.
And
Smash the like
Aether,
button too, by the way, guys.
yeah, and Aether, with your question, we're going to get to it as well too. We just want to do some opening remarks first, and then we'll go into the questions. So throw your questions down. And by the way, Shane Day would easily replace Joe Lombardi at this
Yep.
point. Actually, I wanted him to be replaced at the at the bye week, right? And that didn't happen. So, anyways, whole another conversation. But let's talk about again Sean Payton. We want to get into Sean Payton because this conversation has come up so much.
Yep.
So much. And every one of our chat threads, like, oh my God.
All the time.
Anyways, why don't we show that
that
article with yep.
I will pull that up. So it's interesting because Barstool Sports even pulled up this article here and just talking about, keep Sean Payton away from the Chargers. Now, that's a pretty bold title to be able to throw out there on a coach that has won a Super Bowl. But he had some really interesting points there. And obviously Sean Payton has been lurking around the Chargers, even was at the Broncos game Monday night in a box there. I heard he was at another game. I want to say he might have been at the Chiefs game too. And then I heard some weird rumors that he might have been here in Arizona too for this game that happened last weekend, which once again, he's looking at the Cardinals or the Chargers. Initially, he was looking at the Cowboys, which sounds like the Cowboys are going to be pretty set there. And also Dolphins. They seem to be set there too. So he's lurking around this team. And it's going to be interesting to see where it leads to at this point with this whole saga. Now, once again, we still have 6 games ahead of us. We have the playoffs in reach for us. We'll see where it pans out. But I guess, Andy, what's some of your thoughts? What's your ideas on this? And kind of just looking over this article and such too.
Yeah, look, I mean, I will just say this, like, guys, it's hard to win in the NFL, period, right? And we could sit back all day and beat the hell out of our coaches. And I'll tell you right now, you guys all know my frustrations with Joe Lombardi. I mean, like, we didn't do a lot of good things against, I've been in 2 games straight, guys.
Yep.
Got my dagger stabbed out against the Chiefs at SoFi. And then we were at, the Arizona game, right? And that game was just absolutely bananas and just amazing, And so, and by the way, guys, that's partially why content's been a little bit all over the map. Video content quality, such and such has been where it's at, just because we've been traveling, right? We want to travel with this team, and but here's the thing, Sean Payton, it does not have a perfect background, right? We were chatting with the Brisket Broads quite a bit at the tailgate, and by the way, guys, we showed up in force in that Arizona game. It was insane. Awesome.
It was. Awesome.
Yeah, I cannot say enough. So there was just a lot of discussions around Sean Payton. And we're like, is he really going to help the team? I don't know. It almost feels like, kind of a, eh, why make the switch? If you believe in Brandon Staley, which I do believe Brandon Staley's a fantastic head coach. And again, what you want in a head coach is a leader, someone to have a vision of getting the team where it
Yep.
needs to be. And Brandon Staley has that. Now, my argument has always been I'm not happy with the way that we're utilizing Justin Herbert.
Yep.
So I can understand the argument of, okay, Sean Payton won, with Drew Brees, right? Drew Brees isn't Herbert, right? Herbert arguably is a better quarterback, but at the end of the day, you're like, okay, well, what does that mean? Are we going to get more growing pains with Sean Payton to show up, right? Well, what if we just have, Brandon Staley for 3, 4, 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And create a dynasty here in LA, right? And
Yep.
so it's hard for me to say he sucks and he's should not be our head coach anymore. But it's also hard for me to say that Sean Payton's going to come in and fix things. Like, well, what needs to be fixed, right? We're talking about, like, in Madden perspective, an 80 rating compared to like a 90 rating, right?
Yep.
You could still win, but the upside of Brandon Staley from a leadership perspective could be way above
Right.
what Sean Payton could bring with this team. So
yeah, I agree. And so the one thing about it is that I would love to be able to see with the Chargers. I would love to be able to see a coach that stays here more than 4 years. And so
yes,
under Tom Telesco, he is now on his third head coach, I believe, with
yep,
Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn, and then obviously Brandon Staley now. The thing about it is they've each had 4 years, Mike McCoy, Anthony Lynn, to be able to be the head coach for this team. Anthony Lynn got a 1-year extension on his last year for 2020, and then was let go. I think it was mostly conservative-based plays, special team kind of a disaster, more or less. I think also, we got lucky to an extent to where we were able to start Herbert for a week too, which it's an unfortunate event, obviously, for Tyrod Taylor. But the thing about it is that it seems like we're in this run of keeping head coaches for 4 years. And I do really feel that that's still going to be the case with Brandon Staley. But for subject matter and what everybody keeps talking about, let's talk about Sean Payton here. And Barstool Sports basically kind of talked about this and said, hey, talking about these rumors, some of the media has been saying that it's going to be one of those things that it could happen. I'm hearing that even some media at ESPN is saying, well, it's really about the 6 games for Brandon Staley's job and he'll get let go. I highly doubt something like that's going to happen. I do think that a lot of things are happening that are good with this team. And I think he's becoming a better coach all around. And once again, Joe Lombardi has been fault for a lot of the issues offensively. If the offense really gets rolling, the defense will look better. I'm pretty positive of that. What did I send over this morning, Andy? What was it? It was showing a stat of Joey Bosa when he's on the field and the amount of run yards that we've given up when he was on the field versus when after he was off the field.
it'd be awesome if you could pull that up, but you probably can't.
Yeah, probably can't, but it was insane to look at. So it was, here you go. I got it on my phone here. So basically Chargers defense rushing yards allowed per game, 64. 93. Joey Bosa was injured. After his injury, 151, 131, 213, 98, 213, 201, 157, 163, 181.
Yeah, I wish we could show that because guys, what that? Yeah, there we go. but here's the point. Ultimately, what that means is they're not going to run the ball to Khalil Mack. They're going to run the ball to the Joey Bosa side of the ball, right? And they know that side is completely weak. And guys, in the NFL, it's about matchups, angles, and mismatches, right? And that's the whole point. And when you know that whoever's on that side that's supposed to be on the Joey Bosa side is not setting the edge or really doing what they need to do to stop the run, it's not going to happen. Like, it won't happen. And they're just blowing us off the edge on that side, right? So it's frustrating when you sit back and think about it. But look, and again, there's been a lot of criticism on our coaching staff, specifically on why didn't we make moves, during the trade deadline. Bottom line, I think that we have the team that we need to win, right? Yep. We just got to get healthy. But the good news is we're still in it, and that's where we're at, right? So, and again, coming back with Sean Payton, You can sit back all day and say, well, how would he manage it differently? I don't really know that he would manage it any differently, right? I don't know that he would do anything really differently than what we've done in the past. And we can go through a lot of this as well, too. So, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, James.
Right. And so, just to kind of go over some of the things in here within this article on Barstool Sports, it's interesting how they talk about what Sean Payton did. A lone miraculous Super Bowl win in 14 years coaching, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Drew Brees is a phenomenal quarterback, obviously a Hall of Fame guy. He's broken many, many records and everything. So he's a phenomenal, phenomenal quarterback. So let's talk about the other years. Basically outside of that Super Bowl win, 6-8 playoff record. Some of the most epic collapses in playoff history, which I wrote down literally after the Super Bowl of 2009. Basically, this is probably one of the most epic collapses of a Super Bowl hangover, which we're seeing with the Rams, by the way, this year. That things are just not working out for them. So 2010, the wild card game. You guys remember the Beastquake game when Marshawn Lynch basically ran for 67 yards to get the win for the Seahawks? That was incredible. I think it was one of the loudest NFL stadiums, or at least decibel ratings, ever in a stadium. And apparently it actually created an earthquake with the amount of, people jumping around or whatnot, and actually had on the quake meter, for some reason, I can't think of the name of it for some reason, but basically it actually showed that there was an earthquake that happened in Seattle around that game. So, and the crazy part of it is they lost to a 7-9 team and lost 41-36 in that game. What did talk about a Super Bowl hangover at that point,
Big time.
Like basically losing to a 7-9 team and getting smoked by a Marshawn Lynch, which I think Marshawn Lynch was a phenomenal running back, by the way. I loved how he played. So going from there, 2011 divisional round versus the Niners. Saints had 5 total turnovers in the game, fought back to get a lead with Brees to Jimmy Graham's 66-yard touchdown. Wow, cool, late in the game. Awesome. Then Alex Smith then responded with a game winner to Vernon Davis, to where the Saints lost 36-32. So that's 2 years in a row. They basically found ways to lose in the end. 2017. So there's basically a gap there of 2012 to 2017. Now, once again, there was a little bit of a situation going on during the 2009 to 2011 season. So let's go back a little bit on that with those other 2 playoff losses there and actually Super Bowl win. You guys remember that whole bounty system they put in place there? You got caught up on that?
Bounty Gate.
Bounty Gate, baby. So basically there was a pool of money to be able to get paid to injure players and to, do specific things through the game, which led to Sean Payton getting suspended for 2012 season. The GM, Mickey Loomis, got suspended for 8 games. Assistant coach Joe Vitt was suspended for 6 games. Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator, got banned from the league. And Saints had to forfeit second-round pick in 2012 and 2013 with multiple fines throughout for the coaches. You don't want a coach doing something like that. I'm sorry. Like he was desperate at some point to be able to try to get that win. He was desperate to be able to get, a way to be able to be a successful team. And that really hurt this team. I mean, think about something like that. Do you think Brandon Staley would do something like that? I want to say even the Brisket Broads talked about that on a live one time.
They did, yeah.
And they were just chatting about that like, you don't want a guy that could do something like that or will be willing to do something like that for this team. That really throws things off quite a bit as this team.
Well, it's an integrity conversation too, right?
Right.
It's integrity. These are real people, real players, real human beings that are trying to make a living, right? And we could argue all day that they're just players on another team that we don't care about. And you're right, to some degree, we don't care. But they're real people, right? These are real people. These are real people conversations that do matter. So, and I like that line at the end. Why bring a guy that let this happen into your franchise? There's a reason why he's not at the Saints anymore, right? There's a reason why. And
agreed.
you have to ask yourself this question. And that's the thing that I have loved about Brandon Staley. He does things with integrity. He focuses on people. And don't get me wrong, I think Sean Payton's great. I think he's done a very good job coaching, right? But, I think there's some question marks into his integrity, right? And James and I, just so you guys know, we're in tech sales, and integrity is a big thing, right? You want to make sure people know you're there to support them. And
Yep. Big
they're
time.
making multi-million-dollar purchases from you, and you have to sit back and say, hey, look, can I call you, and can you pick up the phone and fix things if things go wrong, right? And
Yep.
you got to wonder, right, is Sean Payton that guy, right? So again, there's integrity questions, right? And that's my point I'm trying to bring up at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole thing about it is that this is a professional organization. You can't
Big time.
find a way to cheat and get away with it. Then again, there are times that you feel about the bits and they're getting away with some sort of cheating things, but
Yeah,
they've
deflate gate,
also,
all that stuff.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. But I mean, I think they have also had some sort of, you know, penalty against them too. So, following when Sean Payton did come back, he had 11-5 season, got to the playoffs, won one, lost one. But then from 2014, 15, 16, and yeah, he was 7-9. Just 3 straight seasons of being 7-9. And then in 2017, and I guess I'm just kind of going to emphasize a little bit more of hey, these are the collapses that have happened here with this guy. So the 2017 divisional round versus the Vikings, Minnesota Miracle. Anybody remember that one?
Yeah,
Like,
remember that?
literally the last play of the game, 10 seconds left. No, Vikings had no timeouts, throws the ball to Stephon Diggs with a whiff tackle by Marcus Williams as a rookie to allow Diggs to basically walk in for a 61-yard touchdown. Saints lost 29-24. Then then the next year, 2018, divisional round versus the Rams. Missed PI call versus the Rams that would have given the Saints the win. Basically, the game was led to overtime with a loss for the Saints, 26-23 in overtime. So, once again, PI, refs make bad calls and everything too, but that was a horrible, horrible call. I very distinctly remember watching that game thinking that was crazy. That should have not happened. And then 2019, wild card versus Vikings. Saints were third seed, regardless of having a 13-3 record, which is insane to think about. Lost to Vikings in OT 26-20. So Vikings did it to again, only 2 years later. And then 2020 divisional round versus the Bucs. Breed's last game of his career. Saints had 4 turnovers, and the most crushing turnover was the Jared Cook fumbling in Bucs territory with a 7-point lead by the Saints. And then Brady did his thing and made his magic happen. Bucs won 30-20. Brady getting another Super Bowl in that season. So what I'm trying to emphasize with you is it's not easy to win once again in the NFL. I mean, Andy Andrews basically said that too. It's not easy to win, but going back to us, we're in tech sales. We're in sales. In sales, it's about what have you done for me lately, basically. And I'm viewing Sean Payton as what has he done lately? And if you really look at that, it's been 2009. We're not living at the 2009 Super Bowl and saying, hey, look, he's going to get us that Super Bowl or whatnot. I mean, he has won one. I get it. Once again, that was the same years that he actually had his pool to be able to injure people and such too. But the thing about it is, it comes down to what have you done for me lately? And really, he has done nothing to really make himself be this guy that we need to pay $10 million plus or whatnot to be able to have on this team. And once again, I'm going to go back on that. I highly doubt the Spanos will pay $10 million for a coach, by the way, too. It just won't be the case, in my opinion. So what's your thoughts on that, Andy, too?
No, I agree, right? I mean, look, at the end of the day, I understand the argument around Sean Payton. And look, and I understand why, and again, myself included, why I'm frustrated with this team. Because we came into this year as Charger fans, guys. We've never made more offseason transactions as we've had so far. And yet feel somewhat mediocre. And we're winning so ugly, right? What was that shirt idea we had? Lose big, but win barely. Something of that
Win
nature.
barely. Yep.
Yeah. But win barely. And it's like, holy smokes, man. And it's like, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
But you also have to argue, that it's not only you against the person in front of you, it's their scheme, the whole situations, right? Everything is difficult, right? And it's
Sure.
hard.
Yep.
And look, there's a lot to discuss there. And by the way, C-Bay, that's an interesting question. I know you brought up this whole conversation around, and we should probably talk about this.
Yep.
I know let's talk about it. Oh, where did it go here? Before we go into some of the deeper questions around, I'll pull it up here real quick. Around specifically Sean Payton.
Is this the one you were talking about?
Yeah, bounty systems. It's interesting, right? And again, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I have a
Yep.
guy when I was a manager in tech. Well, I've been a manager a number of times in tech sales, but one of the guys that I worked with was in hockey. And if you're a hockey player and you get into a fight with somebody on the other team, you get there's a bounty system there. You get 200, 400 bucks,
Yep.
whatever. You get money and you get rated on it, right? But that's hockey, right? And the NFL is very similar in that regard.
Yep.
And you're right. And you're exactly right. It's a violent sport. And you know what? They are actually going to, quite frankly,
Yeah.
they want to see violence, right? That's the whole point.
Yep.
In hockey, again, exactly correct, Rich. I mean, he's from Canada. Canada, eh? Hoser, eh?
Yep.
Right? Love you, Rich. You know I'm just messing with you. But at any rate, that's a big part of
Right.
that particular sport, right? And we've been watching the FIFA World Cup. I
Yep.
get so frustrated seeing these guys flop left and right, which has been
Oh.
absolutely just
Well,
ridiculous and annoying.
yep.
But again, my point is, right, that is a big part of contact sports. People want to
Yep.
see hits. That's what people want to see. People
Yep.
want to see people get hurt, and that's unfortunately part of the game, right? Now,
Sure.
it shouldn't
Sure.
be. It shouldn't be. And definitely he was one of the guys that was
Yep.
slapped on the wrist as a
Right.
example.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure what that did is it basically shifted everybody out of it. If there was bounty systems and everything still during that time, the thing about it is that, yeah, people aren't going to do it because they know what could potentially happen to them now. So um, I did want to emphasize one thing too. When Sean Payton stepped down with 3 years left on his contract from the Saints, I remember he left the Saints in a cap hell situation. I think it was almost 75 million over the salary cap, which ironically they found a way to be able to reverse that to have like 30 something $1 million in salary cap to be able to spend on free agents and such too, this last offseason. So once again, managing of the team is also the aspect of, salary cap. You got to figure that out.
Yeah.
And so
Well,
you can't basically overdo it and then basically get destroyed and then say, okay, well, sorry, man, I'm going to leave you guys that way kind of thing and walk away. And that's basically kind of what I think he did. He just kind of gave up on the team at that point. So, but
I love
the
that.
thing in the whole thing that we're looking at this as is, look, Brandon Staley to me is a stud. And I think he's a very, very solid coach. I think that he has great potential to only grow further. And I think there is a lot more growing that is going on with this guy. Last year with Fourth and Staley was his whole thing. He shook
His
the
mantra,
NFL. Yeah, that was
100%.
his whole mantra. And what did he
Yeah.
do this year? Now he's like, okay, now I can get down to the nitty gritty and just be like a coach versus trying to be this Wild West shooter guy, kind of thing. And which I don't mind, to be honest. Hey, we won the game because of Fourth and Staley last week. And we found a way to be able to win, to go for it get a 2-point conversion and walk away with that win and steal one out of the desert. And so either way, I think it's one of those things that I think we got to let Brandon Staley go. And in going further in this article, I know it talks a little bit about that. It says, what do the Chargers need? Very simple, is defense. And, if we could, I think I'll also say offense play calling needs to be changed, which once again, I think I text you and Kyle about the Lombardi after practice interview that he had this week.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it sounds like Brandon and Justin Herbert really is making play calls too, and changing frequently his play calls, by the way. So it's good to hear that Herbert's really getting embedded in the offense.
And that's what we want, right? Like at the end of the day, that's what we want. Now, I've made this argument on a few of my other videos. If you guys have watched, bottom line, if we had someone like a Joey Bosa with Mac out there, easily
Yep.
2 more wins, easily 2 more
Easily.
wins, and it wouldn't even be a conversation, right? And that's where this has become frustrating for fans, right? And I get that, guys. So, these injuries have been so bad, but look, on a positive note, we can sit back all day and say, hey, look, everyone's getting healthy. Bosa's going to be back. We'll get Williams back. We'll have Allen's finally back. Hopefully, he doesn't get injured again. And we already got these other guys stepping in and helping, right? I mean, I'm going to give you a good example. Look at someone like a Mike Bandy, right? Mike Bandy, who was one of the big guys in our preseason, right? Stepped up, kicked ass, fought a way to get on the team. That play he made last week, just getting on the ball after Palmer fumbled it, was huge. And guys, big part of that's not only Mike Bandy, but also coaching, right? The fact is, that's our coach saying, hey, dude, yeah, I know you might not be part of the play, but look, at the end of the day, have your head on a damn swivel and make it happen. And he did a great job. And I have to just commend, again, the other thing on the other part of the conversation. It's not just about Brandon Staley. It's also about the entire coaching staff that is there now. They're all first-year head coaches for the most part, right?
Yeah, right.
And they're navigating. They're figuring things out. And I was telling you this too, James, the other day when I was in Arizona, is that Brandon Staley seems more confident now in a weird way, more understanding the situation. And I love the last question, and I'll be quiet, that they asked him, I think it was, can't remember who asked him. It was why am I drawing a blank on his name? I can see his face. Anyways, one of the reporters asked him, "Oh, what do you think about the other team from LA that's doing really great?" And he was talking about USC specifically.
Oh yeah.
And he goes, "Yeah, I haven't paid attention to college football.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah,
I don't care."
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? That's off season. That's an off season conversation, right?
Exactly.
Okay, fine. Let's look at some tape on some player that we're going to potentially draft. And that's the thing that I like about this team. And Brandon Staley just said that so concretely. I don't even know what's happening, right? The funny thing is, I will say this: I have not paid attention to college football at all this season.
Yeah.
I've literally only watched a few games. I don't even care. The only time I care is the NFL. So, I think it's been interesting. So,
right.
We want to focus coaching staff, and they are. That's what I like.
Exactly. And in the bigger part of it is too, with this whole Brandon Staley, Sean Payton situation. I get it. So one thing I'm going to say about this whole Sean Payton thing. Some of our best years as a Chargers organization were with established, experienced-based coaches. So if I'm going to throw something out there saying, okay, I get it, you could go get Sean Payton. Remember when we had Marty Schottenheimer? Some of our best years as a team through the mid-2000s. Who took over from there? Norv Turner took over from there, got us to the AFC Championship game. I could understand in that aspect that, hey, maybe this other experienced guy could do the same thing. I 100% get that. I get it. But really remember too, he is under a 3-year contract with the Saints. I would assume that we have to get some sort of rights to be able to even bring him to our team. So we'd have to probably give up something in draft capital. Tom Telesco, if he's going to be our GM, we don't really trade draft picks that frequently. So I don't really see that really happening, in my opinion. And then on top of that, if he's going to have GM control too, I don't really know if the Chargers or Spanos would want to do that and pay a guy $10 million, because he is considered top tier in the dollar value for coaches. So that's something.
Yeah. And not only that, right? It's draft capital. He also wants to be the GM. He wants to be the GM. He wants to be the end all be all discussion with everything that's going to happen. And I don't know. I mean, do we like that idea? I mean, do we not like that idea? I mean, who knows?
Right. Yep. And I was going to go to DZ's point here. Check out the new All In Depress Me. We've been robbed with all these injuries, man. And going back to our slides here, and just to kind of go over this, look at our offense right now. I mean, how bad we've been beat up. Literally, Matt Filer, Xander Horvath, and Zion Johnson are the only guys that are our starting guys that have not been injured so far in some manner. So Oh, and Austin Eckler, excuse me. He's had abdominal. Actually, he's listed in there. But for the most part, we've been just decimated with injuries. And I'm going to, maybe it sounds very, very ridiculous to say, but I'm going to give a huge shout out to the entire coaching staff to try to make sure that we at least have a competitive product on this field
Yeah,
for the season. I mean, 6-5. Patriots lost last night, by the way. That puts
that's
us in a
huge.
better position. We're in 8th position now. Now we basically just got to handle our business, and we could literally go 4-2 for the rest of the season. If we go 5-1 and end in 11-6, that puts Brandon Staley right in Coach of the Year conversation. Not saying he's going to win it, but that's major for what this team could do. So once again, going back to what Brandon Staley's been doing, he's growing as a coach, and he is really, really finding a better way to be able to be a good, solid coach. I get it. Peyton is this guy. People really get excited about him. I 100% get it, but I just don't think we're going that direction, in my opinion. But
Yeah,
once again,
and
we
like why?
last point on this. I'm just gonna say we've seen some shocking moves in the offseason and what we did in this last offseason. Would they do it again for a second year? I really don't think that's gonna be the case. But go right ahead, Andrew.
No, and again, like at the end of the day, why? Why go out and get a guy like that? Now again, I understand as a fan base, we get frustrated. Hey, you know what? We're not performing, yada yada. But
Yep.
just so you know, we all expected our team to be just absolutely incredible, just throwing the ball downfield,
Yep.
50 yards, whatever. Look, I'll tell you right now, I mean, from a defensive scheme, you know what they're doing? They're actually playing Brandon Staley's defense against us. Two high safety for the most part, or a shell formation, or dime or nickel, whatever you want to say, taking away the pass because you know what? We can't run the damn ball. So, it's making Justin Herbert look bad, but not necessarily. And part of the problem is we can't run the ball correctly, right? We're not
Agreed.
making those runs work well, so they don't got to stack the box.
Yep.
They can run prevent defense against us, right? So,
Yep.
there's a lot to be said about performance, in this scenario. But again,
Right.
will Sean Payton fix that? I don't know.
Sure.
Most of the time in his tenure, what I saw, they didn't run the ball that well until they really got Albert, Kamara. Kamara killed it. He did great. But Kamara's just amazing. I mean, he's just kind of a freak of nature, really good. So, a lot to be said about that for sure.
And just to wrap up this article here, and I'll probably pull it off the screen shortly after this, but just what you were talking about, like we basically have had so many injuries here. In this line that I highlighted here, it says Sean Payton may be a great offensive coach, but how much better would he be doing with this roster? With all these injuries and everything going on, offensively, defensively. And on top of that, Payton's personal OC is the OC for the Chargers, Joe Lombardi. So would it be different at all? Probably not. Like, probably not. At least we have the idea. And once again, I know our defense is getting destroyed. Once again, we have a lot of injuries there. I know we have a defensive-minded head coach with an offensive background as a player. So we get kind of the best of both worlds here too. But really, would it be any different right now for the results with what's going on with the Chargers
I
and
agree.
injuries? Who knows? And I think that's just a really, really good way to wrap up that article in general, because would it be any different even if we had Sean Payton now? And I really would probably say it would be no different.
I agree. And
Could be
again,
worse,
it's hard.
to be honest.
It's hard to win in the NFL, right? And Sean Payton's not a defensive-minded coach, right? Brandon Staley is. Now, again, that's a whole nother ball of wax. Watch my video on, I believe, Tuesday when I talked about Brandon Staley's notes from the Cardinals game. And look, at the end of the day, we're selling out. We don't care about the run as much as the pass. And so we're just trying to play prevent defense and get really tight in the red zone. That's the whole point. I mean, that's the general gist of our defense at this moment. So at any rate, okay. So we got a bunch of questions that we need to get to. So let's get to the next 20 minutes. Let's do that. Why don't we tee up the first one, James?
Here we go.
Okay.
This one's from Aether. Daniel Popper said if the Chargers fired Staley and bring Payton first, we going to run same offense exactly, just what we just chatted about. Lombardi And somebody said in the comments just shortly, I think it was Brandon Mitchell. Yeah, Lombardi was the quarterback coach, but he was still a part of that same system.
Big
He
time,
applied
big
the
time.
Sean Payton offense to the Chargers team. So same offense.
Yep.
So he'll be on the staff, which Andrew will cry because and we'll give up on the Chargers. And so, yeah, no, and that's the thing. I don't know if Andy should answer this one or not, but
Yeah. So let me answer this. So one of the things that I would say specifically, right, and the thing that I've learned, over the years is really in the NFL, it's really about just moving the ball down the field, right?
yeah,
You know, certain teams do it different ways, right? With the Chargers this season, our running plays have essentially been check downs to Austin Eckler, right? Or our running back. Those are pretty much running plays. We'll have a couple running plays here and there, but for the most part, they're check downs. And they're such high percentage plays that they're essentially running plays moving forward. And the whole point is to move the ball down. And then when you get into the red zone, that's when the defense has to step up and then hold them to a field goal.
yep,
When you're held to a field goal, that is an absolute victory for the defense. Every
yep,
time. When you see a field goal kicker come out, that's a victory.
yep.
So
Huge.
just remember that. But again, Lombardi's job is to make sure they dial up plays that they can make. Like perfect example, the 2-yard conversion or the 2-point conversion we did in Arizona. That
Yep.
play was done over and over again a bajillion times.
Yep.
And they've talked about it so many times. And there was even a meme that came out that they were doing that exact play in practice, I think that week for the game. And look, that play is a fantastically designed play, right? And I remember, you remember that one time that Everett went the opposite direction and not in, and Herbert threw the ball, and he went. Everett went one way, and then Everett went the other way.
Yep.
They've done that play a number of times, but they're just different variations on that play, right? And that's really what the offense is they have plays, but they have variations of those plays, right?
Sure.
We all know that. So that one just worked out very well. I mean, he was completely wide open. It was essentially just a handoff to Everett at that point.
Yeah, that was a wild, and the stadium went nuts after that play too.
Oh, it was just crazy.
It was incredible. And we were down on the field, like a couple rows from the field, and dude, it was just bonkers. Stadium just went up and lit up like a Christmas tree. It was insane. Crazy situation all around. But yeah, and the thing about it is, and I know Brandon keeps saying, hey, it won't be Lombardi making the calls if Staley comes. Sure. Once again, different mind. We've been talking about that. Shane Day would be a different mind if, say, Lombardi got let go. But the thing about it is, if you go back to Joe Lombardi, he did go from quarterback coach to offensive coordinator to the Detroit Lions with a young Matt Stafford. Didn't do well there. Year and a half in the position, got fired. Went back to being with the Saints again. Still a part of the same exact organization, same exact position as a quarterback coach. Came here, did the same thing, running that same offense. It's the same offense. Yes, different mind. I get it. One thing that I'm hoping for is, and we're starting to see, and I'm glad Joe Lombardi even said that. He said that Justin Herbert's been changing a lot of the calls that he's been putting into. I want to see Justin Herbert take more control of this team and control of that offense. And I think I'm starting to see glimpses of that where he's running like that long run that he had in the Cardinals the week before against the Chiefs, had a little bit longer of a run. He's starting to take control, which is what you want to see out of an elite quarterback. And I think that he's learning too on the job. So you want to take this question, Andy?
Yeah, no. I like Peyton, but he only had 2 years of the Saints. I don't think anyone is looking to replace our coach for him. Brandon may need time to master all aspects. But if he's the man for the job, I agree, right? I think that Brandon Staley really has all the right tools and traits to be an amazing head coach, right? You could tell he's working his ass off to do everything he possibly can to be better. And like Sean Payton, I get the argument because our team, we expected more from our team at this moment, right? We would love to be, undefeated or same record as the Bills or whoever, right? But it takes time in the NFL to really be that team, to be that good, right? It takes a lot of time. And so I guess my point is I would just say, again, Brandon Staley is a young head coach, done a lot of great things. Again, the argument could be made, in my opinion, that I think offensively, we might not be using Justin Herbert correctly, but who knows? Again, remember, we're in the thick of this. We're in the playoff run and we're getting healthy. That is a good thing, guys. That's a very, very, very positive situation.
Yep.
We take care of business against the Raiders, donkey punch them, put them to sleep. Life is good. Again, we still not even seen a single game that it was like a complete game on both sides of the ball. Oddly enough, our special teams has been the best part of our game statistically.
Yep.
We're kicking ass on special teams, and that's been like the biggest headache that we've had for forever as fans.
Yeah.
So
forever and ever and ever. And
Yeah.
so, and that's the thing. Like, it's an unfortunate thing because the last 3 head coaches that we've had are first time head coaches and guys that got hot for some reason, previous year performance seemed like a hot name and then ended up getting hired. Now, once again, these are guys learning on the job and they're just hoping that they got the next Bill Belichick from these guys. And they're paying them very minimally to be able to be the head coach. And so I'm just looking at it as, once again, things that are against us. First off, we're probably going to have to give up draft capital to be able to get Staley or to get Payton. We're going to have to pay him quite a bit of money to be able to even be here because he's going to be a top tier paid coach. We're going to have to get rid of Telesco because it's going to end up being that he's the GM there too. So it's just a lot of little things that are against it. I think Brandon Staley is getting better and we just have to be more patient with it. Once again, if we end our season at 11-6 or 10-6 getting into the playoffs, that's a huge, huge win for all the adversity that we went through with this freaking season. Excuse me, 10-7, not 10-6. But it's huge. So I think this one is actually for you, Andy. I think Aether tried to point this one at you.
Yeah. So, and again, it said it takes 4 weeks for a team to find their identity. Yeah, I agree. OTA, mini camps, training camps, preseason game. It's more than time. Explain. Look, and again, I'll probably give you what Brandon Staley would say. And Brandon Staley would say we've had a lot of injuries, and a lot of the injuries have made the team not be as cohesive as they want it to be. Having said that, we know our identity as a team. We're a passing team. We pass the ball first, run the ball second. That's what we are on offense. And that's, we put the ball in Justin Herbert's hands. Now, the argument could be made that that's not great because bottom line, what if you have a bad game? It makes it tough, right? Because you can't rely on anybody else to score points, right? And that's where the situation becomes dire. Secondarily, though, defensively, Brandon Staley came out last week. If you watch my video on Monday, or Tuesday, clearly he says we don't care about stopping the run. We want to stop the pass because a 40-yard pass is a lot more dangerous than a 10 runs that went 40 yards, right? And in the NFL, you're chewing clock when you're running the ball. That's the whole point, right? Well, you can get a fumble, you can get a lot of different things that could happen during the run game. So Brandon Staley clearly on the defensive side of the ball does not care about stopping the run as much as stopping the pass. And that's why a lot of people, in fact, I keep watching all these preseason predictions, these predictions for this game this week against the Raiders. If Josh Jacobs plays, the number one running back in the league, he's going to run all over the Chargers. Well, there's arguments both ways on that, guys, right? At the end of the day, we don't even know for sure that he's going to play. I don't remember what the update was today specifically, but it doesn't sound like he's going to be playing for sure from what I could tell. But look, at the end of the day, play action is a big thing and all the above. Now, the one thing I will say about this team in Aether, this is kind of the point I'm getting at, is this team has never had a cohesive game all 3 phases of the game this entire season. Not once.
Not one.
So we've never seen an actual click or a light bulb switch for the team. This is us. So I would say 4 weeks is on average, but the amount of injuries that we've had all through the season has just made it so we can't really make that happen specifically. But look at the teams that are doing great. The Bills, they've not had a lot of injuries. And there's a lot of teams across the board that are the top. Chiefs are one of the least injured teams in the league right now. And, goody gumdrops for them, right? But that's, not going to happen every single season, moving forward, right? So again, that's a big part of the conversation in my opinion.
Yeah, and if I was going to add anything to that too, I mean, if we're going to say, and going with all the injuries, it kind of throws things off a little bit, quite a bit, actually, I should say, what this identity was going to be. And that was week 2. Basically, we started with Justin Herbert getting an injury. But
Yeah.
really, if you want to say that we did have an identity, and if I'm going to say right now, we're going to be what we're a no flinch team.
No
That's what Brandon
flinch.
Staley has said. That is what Justin Herbert has said. Basically, we are a no flinch team. We don't allow basically what's in front of us become an issue. We basically say, hey, we're going to find a way to get this win. And guess what? Records wise, and once again, these are against losing record teams. We're 6-1 versus winning record teams are 0-4. So our no flinch is based upon you know, losing record teams, but we're finding a way to lose to the good teams. Now, that's hopefully something that we could shift here late in the season. You make playoffs in December, you don't make your playoffs in September, October, November, or whatnot. This is when you get
100%.
to the playoffs. So, really, if we're going to identify as a team, gritty, tough, no flinch based team right now. So,
Yeah, that's the shirt idea coming out, guys. We got to do no flinch. We got
no
to do
flinch, baby.
no flinch. We are looking at different merch options as well. We're looking at moving to Teespring and a few other things, but no
Yep.
flinch is a good idea. So we should get
Great
that
idea.
going. All right. So James, you want to take this question from Danny?
Danny, what's up, buddy? Hey, appreciate the question. How many times do we have to change head coaches? Lynn, McCoy, Staley. Now it's too much. No, I agree. So if you look at a lot of these teams that are pretty successful, I'll give an example, 2 examples of where it works and where it does not work to win a Super Bowl and to be able to be a successful franchise. Go to the Steelers. They've had 4 head coaches in their entire career or
Yeah.
organization. They've won, I believe, the most Super Bowls in NFL history. I believe. Is that correct? I'm pretty sure that's the case. Basically, they've done it with 4 coaches. Phenomenal. I would love to see the Chargers be able to do that. It's been so long to be able to have a head coach with this team for more than 5+ years. Yeah. And we need to find stability in that position. And I'm really, really hoping that we could have that as a head coach. Now, going further, let's go with the Cincinnati Bengals. They've only had 10 head coaches as a career, and they have not
Yep.
won a Super Bowl. So there's ways to be able to look at it and say, hey, it's about searching and trying to find that right coach that could be with this team for years and years and years. I mean, even
Well,
to
not
go with,
only that, right? Like Brandon Staley's brought a great mentality to the team,
yep,
right? Fantastic mentality. But
yep,
the argument could be made, and again, this is what I've always said over and over again, is that okay, is our offense being run correctly? Now, in the NFL, I would say this. The argument would be this, though, and we'll go to Rich's question next here. But the argument could be made that at the end of the day, the entire NFL offense is exactly the same. It's 5-yard hitches, it's 5-yard flats, it's 10-yard
yep,
whatever. They're all the same. They're posts, they're outs, or whatever. Nothing is that much more interesting from anybody else's offense. It's about being executed correctly.
sure,
And that's not really a problem, right? But then that's where the argument comes in. Well, what about Tom Telesco? He's bringing in crappy players and whatever, right? Well, okay, that makes sense too. But that's where your coaching staff needs to fix, those players and get those players elevated to play in the NFL. I guess my point is, to some degree, it's kind of sixes, right? It's kind of sixes, right? And again, the one argument I had against Anthony Lynn is he was not much of an innovator, and I never felt like he tried to change or improve the team. It was always, we got to get better. We got to get better. But there was never a discussion around why or how getting better, right? The one thing I have really liked about Brandon Staley's done a very good job of saying, okay, yeah, we need to get better. Our tackling's been horrible. Here's how we're going to try and fix it. I'm seeing more answers on fixing it and trying to do things differently. I'm going to give you a great example. You know how we started poorly for a lot of times in the first half of games. After the bye week, they changed up their practicing formations to have more formations with the offense as a team. They weren't doing specific like linebacker drills or running back drills or offensive line drills. They were all separated. Now they're all together, and it made them start out stronger moving forward. It's great. they fixed that. They fixed that coaching problem, and they started scoring more points in the first half. Now,
Yep.
again, we're still struggling at that. We're still not great at it, but we got better for at least the next 2 games. And then we sort of started struggling in the second half, which is even more ironic that we've gotten worse in the second half than we have in the first half. So,
Yep.
again, but my point is they're at least adjusting and trying to get better as they're progressing as a coaching staff. And that's the big part that I can see. So,
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
the one thing I will say, Brandon Staley's he ultimately is a GM in many ways, right? Very clearly he sat down on Telesco's and Spanos' lap for Christmas and said, "This is what I want for our team moving forward to improve."
Yep.
What sucks is we haven't had Bosa and Mack out on the field. J.C. Jackson's completely gone. All the major signings that we had are off the table. So we didn't see what really was going to happen with those players. And that part sucks. That part sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. And I think you kind of dabbled a little bit on like Richie Rich's question
Exactly
about
correct.
so the bigger question is what is the issue with Staley? And we could name a lot of different things. I don't think that is necessarily like an issue. It's just sheer luck in some ways or another. And that's what this game is. It's sheer luck. It's about being hot at the right time. It's about being healthy at the right time. It's about finding a way to be able to have a couple lucky plays fall your ways each way or another. And it's tough. I mean, it's easy that people can sit there and hang their hat on, well, Sean Payton won a Super Bowl. Well, cool. I get it. I understand that. But like, we haven't won a Super Bowl as an organization. But I'm going to say this. It's like, I think Staley could be a really, really solid coach. And I think we just really have to give him more time. And once again, the track record is 4 years with our past 3 coaches. And I really think that's still going to be the case with this team. So unless they do something really drastic, maybe I would say if Brandon Staley ends up going 2-4 or something to end the season, then that's probably where things could get a little dicey for him.
Yeah.
I don't imagine being that way. So either which way, who knows? But he's learning on the job right now. And I think, to be honest, he's a good, solid coach all around.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's good in that regard. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. There's a few more questions. We're going to keep going. Keep the questions coming, guys. Keep the questions going. Okay, this has been my biggest frustration. So I remember watching a video. I think it was how Brandon Staley got hired. I guess apparently he knew Joe Lombardi for a long time prior to being hired, of course, as the head coach of the Chargers. I remember Lombardi making a comment. Yeah, if I probably can't help you really get into the NFL at this point, but if anything else, you'll probably find a way to be above me at some point, and you'll have to find me a job. And that's exactly what happened. Staley's a very smart man, right? He's a very, very smart man. I mean, he's forgotten about things that I know about football at this point, right? And at the end of the day, Joe Lombardi is one of those guys that's been in the league a very long time. And Staley is a loyal guy, and you have to respect him, but he does have to learn when there's a time to cut bait and run. Having said that, I promise you each week they look back and say, okay, was this a good call? Was that a bad call? Why'd we do this? Why'd we do that? And they're getting better as a team. I will also say this too. I do think that Joe Lombardi has become extremely conservative at times, and that's been my biggest frustrations with him. And he doesn't have a very inventive type of formula, right? I like to see a lot of motion. I like to see a lot of movement on the ball offensively and spreading the ball around in different ways. But again, the argument also could be made that Joe Lombardi's offense, basically the Saints offense, is really just about vertical passes downfield. They're taking that away, guys. Like, they are absolutely taking that away. The teams that play us know that we're not going to run the ball well, so they're going to go too high safety every time and take away the vertical plays for Justin Herbert. That's why his completion attempts are so high, but he's not getting extreme yards because they're taking away the explosive plays. So, in short, let me land my plane. It's not necessarily Joe Lombardi's playing calls. It's the fact that they're playing us correctly to stop those explosive plays. It pains me to say that because we want a scapegoat. And I still don't love Joe Lombardi's playing calls, but that's where we're at with our team.
And I agree. And we talked pretty heavily about this during the bye that, hey, Joe Lombardi should probably get let go at the bye week, and then it should end up being Shane Day at that point. And the thing about it is Shane Day would probably just have the same playbook as Joe
100%.
Lombardi, but just
Wouldn't be
call
any different.
different plays, different mind,
Right. Yep.
that point. So it could really change things up for you. And then also he could bring in his Niners side of knowing the Shanahan offense that they had at Niners and everything like that, and bring that involved in it. But we'll see kind of where this all pans out here. And you
Yeah.
guys do have to remember last year, we didn't really have too much talks about Joe Lombardi being like a terrible offensive coordinator when we were a number 5 offense in the league too. And Herbert threw over 5,000 yards. Now, my big complaint is I just want to see Herbert take more control of this offense. It sounds like he's starting to tell Lombardi, "Hey, I don't want that play call. I want this play call." And guess what? It works out. And so I just want to see Herbert take more control as an elite base quarterback. And so I think the offensive coordinator is just a guy that does a suggestion, and I think the quarterback should make the decision at the line and see what he's seeing. Once again, I don't like it that offensive coordinators are sitting up in the box and not being on the field with the team. I
Yeah.
think that really
Yeah.
bothers
And they're doing their little algorithms, right? Figuring
me.
out, beep boop, beep boop, boop, the computer things, figuring out what's going to happen.
Let me know,
They're
R
running
two
it.
D two.
I
Yeah,
know, beep boop, beep boop, beep boop, right? No, but that's what they're doing, right? I mean, there's like
yeah,
what, damn near 10 people up in that freaking box. Like, what the hell are they doing?
yeah.
They're crunching
Exactly.
numbers, they're trying to figure out angles, matchups, yada yada, right?
Yep.
And that information is being fed to the offensive coordinator. Then it goes to the head coach. Head coach makes some decisions. And I promise you, Brandon Staley's making those decisions. We're going to go for 2. We're going to do for this, whatever, right? And they have those conversations
Yep.
all the time, and those analytics are big, right? They're big, and we all know Brandon Staley's a big guy that cares about those analytics. It's all that matters.
Yep.
Rich, this is a great point on this too. You know, the whole thing about Payton would have the team playing differently. I think there's arguments both ways on that, right? My frustration specifically with Joe Lombardi is that, why are we not using our players with the right type of formations and sets, right? Like I want to see Mike Bandy get more involved, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone knows Bandy's not going to get the ball thrown to him that often, right? He's out there, but he's not going to get the ball thrown to him. DeAndre Carter's going to get the ball thrown to him more frequently.
Yep.
And that could also be, the conversation around Justin Herbert's familiarity with Bandy compared to like a DeAndre Carter,
Yep.
for instance. But again, I'm sure plays are designed to get Bandy open for a screen or for whatever, but it just wasn't available. Maybe they saw it and they make a good play. And you're right. He also doesn't believe in giving the starters a country club start to the season. That's a good point too. I will say this: Brandon Staley has talked quite a bit about trying to rotate players and make sure that the players that are starting the right people. Perfect example. Look at Mike Davis. Mike Davis now is our number one guy. He's our number one guy because J.C. Jackson's out. And thank God we have Mike Davis, right? We're paying him, $7 million a year. He's actually doing a great job. Very exciting to see him do so well. But my point is that it's not an easy answer. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of ways you can look at it. So what are your thoughts on that, James?
Yeah, well said. I mean, and the thing about it is, I don't think I have too much to add to that other than the fact of, a lot of other teams don't really try to play their starters in preseason, by the way, too. And
Big
so,
time.
and we don't want to be able to have injuries, and we try to avoid a way of having injuries. And I get it and understand that training camp versus a regular or a game is totally different. But at the same side, it would suck to be able to say if Justin Herbert gets injured in the preseason or whatnot. And maybe he's being a little softer with basically the team during the preseason. But bottom line, I think these guys are professionals and they know what to do. And it's just unfortunate events that ends up happening to us. Now, once again, are we going from practice field grass to turf being the issue? Potentially. Actually, Nick Bosa even just brought up that about he said, hey, look, like my off season, if I'm going to be a free agent, it kind of will matter about what kind of turf I'm going to be playing on of who I sign with. So, that's something that's a completely different subject, but at the same side, that's something to think about too. So,
Yeah,
but
no, Yeah, and that's huge. That's a big conversation, right? No, motor
Yep.
records. This is great. What happens if you don't think the Bolts make the playoffs? Well,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be some tough decisions, right?
Yep.
And this will be a conversation where how big do the Spanos family want to make a playoff run, right? Because who knows? If we don't make the playoffs, then maybe Sean Payton becomes another conversation, right?
Yep.
I still think he's part of the conversation. He's definitely part of the equation. But um, I if you look at again, watch James's videos on the playoff berths and who's out in front, what's going on. We're looking pretty good to make the playoffs this season, right? With the schedule we have, what we got to do. We just got to take care of business again, the Titans and also the Fish, right? If we can win one of those games, I think life is good. Life is
Yep.
very good because the other team should be pretty winnable, right? Again, no game is easy in the NFL, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. We take care of business against the Raiders. We're in great shape. Um,
Yep.
we beat the Dolphins, amazing shape. Then we beat the Titans, amazing shape, right? And then it should be smooth sailing from there. But again, playoffs is we got 6 games, guys. Every game now matters, and that's why a lot of these games are being moved to Sunday night football. Didn't the
Dolphins.
Dolphins game get moved to Sunday night football, or was it Monday night football?
Sunday Night Football. Yep. So it
Yeah,
got shifted. I mean, that's a big game. I mean, that's a massive
big game.
game, and it will be even more massive if we beat the Raiders this weekend too. Which,
Yep, that's right.
once again, crazy thought, guys. I mean, if we beat the Raiders, we sweep them this season. We'll basically be 2-2 in the or excuse me, 3-2 in the division. And then if we beat the Broncos to end the season, we'll be 4-2 in the division. That's really big. We talked a lot about that. This could be a division where it's 3-3 could win the division, or 4-2 could win the division. But it's wild to think that we could potentially be in that position. So obviously, every game we're going against professionals and professional organizations and NFL teams. No game is easy by any means. So we'll see where it goes from here. So
Yeah,
Denise, so why doesn't he take over OC calls? Well, I mean, if you're speaking specifically to Brandon Staley, that'd put a lot on his plate because that would basically mean he would be offensive and defensive coordinator at that point.
yeah,
That's too much to be able to take on. Now, it's more just, I think Brandon Staley says, hey, I got an offensive coordinator that can make the calls, and he's going to be the guy that does it. I'm sure he gets involved with the strategy of the game and probably the first 25 set plays and then situational type calls. But I mean, basically going back to when they did that 2-point conversion, he said, oh, that was the play that we're going to call anyways. Like, that's just what we're going to do. That was probably in the set of 2-point calls, 2-point play calls, that's the one that we're going to go to since we practiced it a
100%.
million times.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and again, he could definitely make those calls, right?
yeah,
He's one of those guys that has been, look, he knows the offense. The reason why he brought in Lombardi was one, he knows the Saints offense, but secondarily, Brandon Staley knows the Saints offense very well. He said it's what I'm most familiar with. So my point is, yeah, he probably could make those calls if he wanted to, but that's just, I mean, he'd be like a one-man show for the entire team. Now, I will say this in game planning, I promise you they're picking, all right, let's pick 50 plays or 75 plays or 100 plays or whatever.
yeah,
And these are our 5-yard plays. These are our 10-yard plays. These are our 2-point conversion plays. These are our short yardage plays. These are our goal line plays. These are what we're doing. And they break them down. I mean, you see those cards they have. All those cards are broken down into very specific formats, right? And so that's how they're doing that. Now, again, anybody could do that because they're picking a group of plays against that defense or against that offense, however you want to handle it, offense or defense. So anyways, yeah. So
yep, for sure. Well, did you want to go back to that last little comment Ether said, and then we'll kind of wrap it up at that point? Because I know
this one's pretty good. Oh, you hit it as well too. Yeah,
yeah,
this
there you
is
go.
awesome. Aether, love it. Go ahead, James.
My fiance said she loves me, but she says it's okay if I love Herbert, but he's not giving you babies. Hey, that's true though.
Awesome,
That's true.
that's
The
true.
baby that we want from Herbert is a Super Bowl baby. That Lombardi trophy, dude. We want to see that trophy. Yeah, there
They'll
you
raise
go,
it.
baby. Burp the
Yeah,
baby, dude. Burp the baby.
Hey,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. That's
Yep.
absolutely amazing, Aether, man. And honestly, you've been such a good fan of the channel, man. I really appreciate you. And
Yeah.
again, guys, look, we're fans. guys, we're all fans.
Yep.
James, myself, you guys, we're all fans. The whole reason why we're doing this is to talk to you guys and have a discussion. We'll work through this together, right? And
Yep.
it's so easy to be angry and frustrated with a play call or what we did or what we didn't do. And it's so easy to criticize. When you're in that moment, it's a very different conversation, right? And you have a game plan, you have what you're focused on, you have what you're doing, and yada yada, right? These are all things that are happening in real time with this team, right? And so, but look, at the end of the day, guys, we're in a good position, right?
Yep.
Now, these games, these are playoff games, guys. Like, let's make no mistake about it. These are absolutely playoff games. And the Raiders want to donkey punch us and beat the hell out of us this next game.
Mm-hmm.
They beat us last year, right? And they made the playoffs. They would love to do it again. They would love to do it again.
Yep.
So
yeah, exactly. They want to be the spoilers again here. And and the thing is, though, they've won 2 games in a row. One against the Broncos, which sorry, Richie, you know the Broncos. I mean, you're pretty critical.
They're pretty horrible. They're about
2 in their 2 overtime wins, by the way, that they've done. So the same one. So they're barely finding a way to get into it. But this is a must-win game for sure, Moda. And the thing about it is these 6 games are major. And once again, we're talking about Sean Payton here. We're talking about kind of comparing him to Brandon Staley and everything here too. There is a level of what I said earlier. If we go 2-4, that probably makes things a little bit more hot. This offseason could be interesting for us.
Big time.
Now, once again, I don't know of when the Spanos has decided to pay $10 million. And I'm just throwing a figure out there as a guesstimation of what Sean Payton is, giving up draft capital to be able to go get a guy like Sean Payton or a head coach of some sort. I don't know if I've ever seen that. Now, they did open up their pocketbook a lot this last offseason. Would they do it again for a coach? I don't know. This season is still in front of us. This season, we still got the opportunity to get to the playoffs. We still have plenty of season in front of us, guys. So, hey, I'm not gonna focus on Sean Payton at all. I'm gonna focus on what's in front of us right now. But I did want to at least do this video because it's a topic a lot of people are chatting about. So,
100%.
If the Chargers win the Super Bowl, outside Herbert, most likely be MVP DJ or Eckler. Man, it's so most of the time the MVP of a team is the one that made the play to be able to win the game. And so if it's DJ with a pick to seal it, if it's Herbert that threw a touchdown to win the game to Eckler, hey, that's a conundrum that we're in at that point. But who knows? I'll go back to conspiracy theory me. So when the Seahawks threw that ball against the Patriots and it got picked off at the 2-yard line, they didn't want to give it to Marshawn Lynch because they didn't want Marshawn Lynch to be the MVP of the game. Throwing that out there. Just conspiracy me. NFL did not want that call to be called. They did not want to give the MVP to Marshawn Lynch because he hated the media. So,
bro, I'm telling you right now. And look, there's some. All right, so answer me this, guys. Do you want us to do a video also? I know I was chatting with one of guys. We also we read your comments as much as we possibly can. We try to. Again, we have busy lives as well too. But I cannot remember who it was that was commenting, but they basically said, "Look it up. WWE and football are considered the same type of entertainment." Now, the argument could be made. My one buddy always said, "Oh, Vince McMahon's is it Vince McMahon or Jim McMahon? I can't remember. Vince McMahon, who's in charge of WWE?"
Yeah, Vince McMahon, which I think he's out now because there's some sexual allegations.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But again, we had a whole video about how the Rams basically paid for a Super Bowl last year. And look, I truly believe the fact that we're seeing the Chargers move into these larger positions of Sunday night football games, things are starting to look more like, hey, the NFL they want to put a product in the field that, guess what, makes money. This is a business conversation, guys, right? Yes, we're fans of a team, but the NFL cares about making money. And it is very clear to me that there's always manipulation, sadly, and I hate to say it that way, but that's a big issue. Now, back to Aether's question. I would say Herbert probably would win, most likely the MVP, just because he's the quarterback. And secondarily, he had that rib injury at the beginning of the season, and he's just battled through it. Now, Eckler, you could argue, has been absolutely amazing.
Stud.
And Derwin James has been amazing. I mean, those 3 guys are our team, guys, right? They are our team. They have what's kept this team even afloat. at this point. So,
Yep.
yeah, I mean,
Yep.
it's wow, a lot to be said. A lot to be said there, guys. I
I
mean,
would
a lot
love
to
to
be
be
said.
able to see that. I would love to be able to see that happen. And whoever wins the MVP, that would be a phenomenal experience in our lives as fans here. All of us here as Chargers fans would love to be able to see that happen.
Oh
And
my
and
god,
I really do
just
feel we're getting close with that, guys. So,
man.
once again, guys, I know we've been running a little bit over on this, but we felt like this is a good subject to chat about. And
Yep.
we're going to do a video on a pregame video on the Raiders game this weekend. So family, trust, respect, my friends. And
Yep.
we'll do that probably either Saturday or Sunday. Just keep an eye out for it, guys. So, but let's wrap it up. Let's talk about this further in comments. Like, subscribe, share this video. We'll throw it out there too. I think it's a really good subject all around, guys. But out of your Falcon mind, love you guys, dude.
Love you guys,
Appreciate it,
man.
man.
Seriously,
Yep.
one of the coolest dudes ever. Yo, go check out their podcast for sure,
Yep.
man. I mean, I
They're
know that
solid
they
guys.
root for the Falcons, but they're awesome dudes, and
Yep.
they are just absolutely worth listening to. They're just great guys. So,
Yep. Appreciate
100%.
it, guys. But once again, I'm James. Here's Andrew. My brother Kyle is MIA because he's at work right now out in Hollywood.
He's at
So
work.
he's doing his thing. But once again, guys, Bolt Bros, we out, guys. Peace.
We out. See you.